Welcome back to Friday Crypto. Today we're going to look at Bitcoin on the weekly chart with some indicators that I personally use. So maybe they'll help you now and moving forward. So looking at Bitcoin just based on the price on TA, right? We've revisited now at least very close to our previous all-time high, which Bitcoin has never even come close to that. So there's significant things that are happening this time that haven't ever happened before. Relatively, uncharted waters, so to speak. So to say that we have to reverse and bottom soon is just you're just making that up, right? There's no evidence that the bottom is in or the bottom is right around the corner, and we're going to look at why I'm saying that today. So step one is that we're at doing things we've never done before, right? Step two, we're under our 200-week SMA, right? We've never really closed below it with significance, right? The pandemic drop, we closed right below it just very briefly, right? But this is not a pandemic drop, right? I think we all saw this just getting beat over the head, right? This wasn't a surprise. We've been skiing down the Black Diamond ski slopes for a considerable amount of time. But could we have a relief rally soon and go up to maybe the 8-week EMA? Or even the 100-week, sure. Let's go ahead and see why I'm saying that. So the RSI on the weekly, and we're going to stick to the weekly on this one. We're obviously dramatically oversold at the point to where we've never been this oversold, at least going back to 2014, 2015 area. 2019, right? We hit it. This is the lowest the weekly RSI has been. So are we going to move out of it? Maybe temporarily, maybe not so temporarily. So back in 2014, if you load this on the BLX, let's do that real quick and see if this pulls up correctly. Here we go. So back in 2014, right, we briefly got to right at the oversold territory, got kind of a bounce, and then back down to lower lows. So maybe that is what we're going to get, but unlikely that the RSI can just stay down here for weeks on end. Could stay down here for another several days, of course. Could price go lower for the next several days? Of course. But sooner than later, I would say within the next week, we're probably going to have some kind of a bounce. How long that lasts? Is it going to be this? Probably not. Is it going to be something like this? That's probably the odds. If you had to pick this or this, it's probably leaning this way, right? So let's go look at their next one. Just kidding, on the BLX. Let's go back to Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin on the stochastic RSI, right? This is your momentum of the move. Stochastic weekly basically bottomed out. Zero help on the momentum side. So when are we going to get help with pressure pushing us back up is when you get back into the shaded area. We're probably looking at several weeks. The earliest, like if we just rocket it up, I mean, we're still looking at probably another 2 weeks before we get that. It doesn't mean prices can't start going up, but for the big momentous move, you got to cross back in here. That's based on the founders of this indicator. You have to have your blue on top, right? Cross back up, right? The blue is the stochastic, the indicator. The red is just the average of that, right? That's why it's smoother. So, okay, so now that's that. So we have no momentum and we're basically have no strength, right? RSI, relative strength index, right? So although those can get oversold, they can stay there for longer than most people think. So another case for kind of stuck in the mud, so to speak, is your ADX and the DI on the weekly. The bears, right? The red is the bears, the green is the bulls. The bears are super in charge. They're on top. Whoever's on top, this is your DI, the negative DI and the positive DI, right? In the green. Your ADX, average directional index, is your indicator of the power of who is over in charge. So not only are the bears in charge, they're getting stronger week over week based on your ADX and DI. So maybe the bears got some more damage to do. But, we can get bounces, sure. But I highly doubt. I mean, I would be pretty confident that the bottom is not in just yet. So let's continue our evidence of all these. The MACD, right? The weekly MACD still not only going down, separating, right? Gapping down. That's not what you want to see, right? That is the strength to the downside increasing, okay? So we need to see a bounce. At least if we're gonna have a bounce, we have to see that blue MACD line kind of turn the other direction, plain and simple. So you can watch for that on the lower time frames, the daily, even the hour, the 4 hour, right? And as you get it on the lower time frames, you want to zoom out. Start with your microscope way up close and then zoom out to make sure you're still looking at the right thing, right? The bigger the picture, the least risk and the more concrete that evidence is. Looking at our hash ribbon signal, right? We have minor capitulation now. That's what this means. The green indicates minor recovery. And then, we got back in the last time we went capitulation, recovery, just kidding, capitulation again. But the most important thing about hash ribbons is this blue buy signal. So when we get this, then you can be much more confident that prices will increase, over time. It doesn't mean it immediately hits buy and prices rocket. No, but buying when this prints blue is pretty much always in your best interest. And it doesn't time the bottoms, right? You're missing a good portion of the initial run, but it's a great safety net to add to your toolbox. So hash ribbons, type that in to your indicators and use it and watch for that blue buy. It could be a week, it could be 3 months, right? So we don't know when it's going to happen. Let's see when this last one really was. From the initial capitulation to the buy signal was 98 days, okay? So they can vary in length, but until we get this, I would be a little bit cautious, okay? So looking at this, let's look a little bit more in depth and see when this capitulation occurred this time, right? We had already dropped. We've already been dropping for like 7 straight weeks, right? We had already been down roughly 45% from the previous several weeks, right? So it's not like we're green until this happens, right? Looking back at the last capitulation, way back in here, right? We had already got a significant drop from April to, the next couple of weeks, right? How much of a drop? Well, you can over 20, about 25%, before we got the minor capitulation, right? And we had dropped 45% here before minor capitulation, right? That's miners giving up. They're not profitable anymore. So, and then we got the recovery sign here, back in May, kind of a brief, breather, if you will, because we bottomed and, maybe miners are like, well, we'll try to come back now. Maybe that's the bottom. And then they capitulated yet again. Maybe electricity was too high, right? It's one of two reasons. They're either just not profitable and walking away, or the electricity cost is too high, or both, a little bit of both, or one or the other, right? So then we got another capitulation sign right in here. And, prices kind of even went up, right? Or just sideways. And then look at when we got our buy signal, right? So we got our buy signal after we started lifting off, right? But, look what was ahead, right? After your blue buy signal, you still went up, 70, 75% plus in Bitcoin over the next couple months. So time before that, right? You got your capitulation right here, and prices didn't go down at all, right? It's just one of those things. It doesn't mean that prices have to have a sudden drop or a sudden rise if you get the blue, right? Here's your blue buy signal, but look what came next, right? Pretty much any of these, right? We got a little sketchy back in the pandemic. I think it was some, people messing around. It was just not super reliable back then, but of the past several times, it has worked out very well for you. So if you don't use this yet, I would highly suggest at least adding it to the indicators that you do use now. If you have any more questions about any of these or how to set them up, I'm always happy to help. Bitcoin at 20,400. We will see how the next week or so unfolds. But if we do get a bounce, you want to be watching your 8-week EMA. Currently 29.5, but that's moving rapidly down week over week. So as you can see, that's held resistance so far. And, a bounce should, if we do bounce, right, if we do get a green week, I would highly suggest you watch as price flirts with that 8-week EMA. Roughly could be next week, around 26K, right? If we get a move up to that, how high would that be? How high would that rally be? So if we went up to 26K, we're looking like, it sounds like it's not much, but there's over 28%. That would be a nice rally. You'd see some alts probably move a little bit, right? Bitcoin dominance is falling back down after being rejected yet again at the 48% mark, right? So now we've held that for over a year. right? 48%, and rejected harshly, I might add, again. So be watching that. And, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Always happy to help. Let's do the quote of the day. He who knows that enough is enough will always have enough. Good one. And probably not many people in America would relate to that. We're greedy bastards. Let's see what else we got. Car of the day, the Mercedes EQS. Why am I doing this? I actually saw one on the road on Wednesday, so they're looking pretty great. I parked in the same parking lot as me, did a whole walk around. Looks pretty good. All electric Mercedes, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Kind of compete with the Teslas, and looks pretty great. Sounds good. Pretty silent. Looks like nothing else really on the road. So it looks pretty futuristic, if you ask me. Yeah. What are your thoughts? I'll see you on the next one. Have a great weekend.